How you doing, everybody? It is the podcast about everything. We're back. I'm Jake, and I've got Joe with me. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing really well, thank you, Jake. Yeah, enjoying the time that I've had in the sunshine this weekend. It has been once again a glorious end to the week. So all good, my end. How about you?
Yeah, fine. Lockdown has eased up a little bit. We can now meet up in sixes. Maybe it's a path and steps to a new way of doing things. Maybe back to normality, if normality is a thing anymore.
Well, we're edging closer, that's for sure. And yeah, Monday brings, I like to call it, Jake, six appeal.
Six appeal.
You like
How long do you
that?
take?
That's good.
How long do you take to think that one up?
Basically, since Boris did his speech, I was like, I've got to save that one up for the podcast. So there you go.
Well, he's doing this thing called what was it? I read somewhere was it a barbecue clause or something? Basically, rules about having a barbecue. I read basically you can have one, but everyone's got to be like 2 meters apart.
To an extent, I agree. I think certainly with any barbecue, whether you're in lockdown or not, whoever's doing the barbecue, you need to stay 2 meters away from that barbecue. I would say, compared to the person who's doing the cooking, you need to give the barbecue king or their space. That's a rule that's been in place for, I believe, probably decades. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm not too happy about people wanting to like toss me a burger from 2 meters away though, because if that goes on the floor, in this state we're in at the moment, the 10-second rule does not count anymore. All right, the minute it hits the floor, it is redundant.
Well, that's fair play, But I'm a bit concerned about the fact that you might have 10 seconds. I thought it was a 3 second rule.
Oh, okay. Well, this way. I've been serving things up 10 seconds on the floor. No one's died, so let's just go with 10 seconds. Well, once you put it back on the grill, all the germs get burnt off anyway, so it's fine.
Well, I'll take your word for that, Jake. All I know is that I will not be coming to the barbecue you've planned coming up. That's for sure. So I'll have to give that one a miss if I know the food's going to be coming off the floor.
Well, who said you were part of the Elite Six? Who said you had the six appeal to join?
Listen, I got six appeal, okay? Give me a break.
Well, to be honest with you, hopefully the numbers will start to go up in the sense that give it a few weeks and maybe he might change it to, I don't know, 8 or 10 or whatever, and we can start getting back to normal. But I guess that's something we've got to wait for, I guess, isn't it?
And I think off the back of that, we have to take what we can get, basically, because more than likely, when it comes to the topic that we're going to speak about today, we're not going to be doing what we hope to be doing, which is potentially going abroad, going on holiday anytime soon. So if we're getting six, if we're getting barbecues, if we're getting that little bit something from the government which allows us to socialise, then that's surely a good thing compared to where we were just a few short weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right. And that brings us on to the topic today, something that none of us are probably going to be doing this year at least, and that's holidays. Going on holidays, a hollybobs. The sacred tradition of packing your bags, going away at some nice sun-kissed destination. All right, and that's something we're not going to be doing at the moment. So let's just have a chat about it.
Let's reminisce. I think, Jake, you're right.
Yeah, let's, as we always do. Let's start from the beginning to present day.
There is clearly an evolution that takes place. I think it happens, to everybody at some point. And it's an evolution with regards to the type of holidays you take, the type of people that you're taking your holidays with, and the places that you might go. So it changes over time, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if we start at childhood holidays, I think mine for me was always going away with, it was with my mum and dad, but sometimes if we went away in the summer, it would usually be to Sicily to see the family out there. Dad couldn't always come because he was working, so it'd be just me, mum, and my sister. And that was always a interesting trip. My fondest memories were down the beach, covered in sand. Which, not to quote any bad Star Wars films here, but I do hate the sand. I hate the beach, to be honest. Ice creams, inflatables. Those are things that sort of, they scream holidays to me. Oh, and also sunburn, because I have very milky fair skin.
Like you, Jake, we would go to Sicily or, where my dad's from, or indeed Italy, where my mum's from, for those summer holidays. And I suppose for a lot of people who were first generation, Anglo-Italian or Anglo, any other country, if your parents moved over from another country at some point or another, but you were born in this country or you spent most of your life in this country, quite often it is the case that, your family want to go back to where they're from for their holidays, to see that their extended family maybe that they're left behind, or it might be grandparents left behind. So I think there's a massive common area here where people who maybe have moved to this country or people move abroad, they go back what they deem as like their home, okay, for
Yeah.
their holidays. And that's what we, I suppose, we experience as a byproduct of the fact that we've got family that are from a different country, namely Italy. But for me, it was very much like going to a second home, going on those family holidays. And it was fantastic to see my cousins that were a similar age and trying to struggle through the language as best as possible. But particularly when you're young, it's amazing, really. You can be around people of different languages and somehow you manage to make friends and somehow you manage to find things to do and have fun even though the communication isn't always there. And it's amazing, really. It's a shame that adults are not so as open with people who don't speak the same language, whereas children, they just get on with it, don't they? And we just got on with it, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm not just going to Sicily, but even when I start going on like package holidays and stuff, which was probably I was still quite young, probably about 8 years old. We would meet kids from like different countries, like it wouldn't just be English kids, it'd be German kids, Spanish kids, French kids from all over Europe, really. And yeah, as you say, you would just get on and playtime is playtime, really. The whole going to visit family thing abroad, that stopped, as I said, probably about 6 or 7 years old. I think it got to a point where my parents actually fancied having a proper break because going there wasn't always a holiday because you'd spend a lot of time going to see people you hadn't seen in a while. So I think it got to a point where my mum and dad were just like, let's just go somewhere we don't know anybody. All right. And that was like my first package holiday to Rhodes. Yeah, it was Rhodes in Greece. And that, to me, for a kid who'd never been to somewhere like that, was like, literally, I thought I'd found paradise. Mainly, it started off at the breakfast buffet. All right. There was a plethora of cereal. I've never seen so much cereal in my life. Actually, this brings me back to another point that I was talking about someone the other day. Why is it on holiday, all right, you eat breakfast like an animal? Because over here we don't do it. It's like if I have breakfast 3-4 times a week, that's too much for me. Like if it's a slice of toast, yeah, great. But when I go on holiday, I'm having bacon and eggs. I'm having cereal. I'm having toast. I'm having waffles and pancakes. All right. Why is going on holiday turn you into an animal when it comes to breakfast? I don't understand.
Well, it's like you're taking a holiday from your diet as well, isn't it? Basically,
yeah. your whole routine.
Yeah, everything takes a holiday. Everything's taking a holiday. Anything that you call, normality goes out the window when you go on holiday. And as you get older, there's other things in line with just your diet that seem to go out the window when you go on holiday. But definitely, the meals, the food, it's something which epitomizes being away from home, being away from the reality. I think for a lot of people.
Everyone just lets loose. It's like a utopia of just do what you want, I guess.
The thing is, I'm interested to hear about your package holidays as a child because for me, we didn't really do that so much, and we often just went, as I mentioned, back to where my parents came from. Yeah. And whilst I loved it, we knew everybody there, so you just couldn't get away from friends. Yeah. Family, everybody in those small villages that you come from, everyone knows everybody. What that also means is there's always eyes on you. So there's always somebody who's looking at what you're doing, seeing how you're behaving, and usually, any misbehaving tends to get back to your parents pretty sharpish because there's somebody that knows somebody who knows your mum and dad. So, but the strangest of things happen when you go on holiday in a place like that. So, for example, something I remember, I must have been about 14 years old, and my dad sending me down to the local high street in his little village to go and buy him some cigarettes, And I was like, there's no way they're going to serve me. I'm 14 years old. I look like a little kid, Dad, what you making? So, no, don't worry about it. Be fine. Lo and behold, I get there, the guys, what would you like? To explain I want some cigarettes. And didn't even bat an eyelid, just took my money, gave cigarettes. Yeah. And I was like, they're for my dad. And he was like, no problem. And just let me carry on with my life, So there are benefits sometimes as well to being in a place where everybody knows each other. But I'm really interested to hear what it's like going into places at that younger age where, you're on a resort.
Yeah, well, okay. So let's first things first, okay? Kids club. Something I never really partook in, all right? I don't know. Maybe I thought I was too good for it. I was too cool for it, all right? I wasn't taking part in kids club, all right? I didn't want to go. This is my holiday, all right? I want to go and muck about in the pool, all right? To do what the hell I want. I don't want to go to a kids club and fucking paint pictures. I'll do that at school. Kids club was a school was a school in a way on holiday, and then you'd always get some over the top lady or man running the kids club, all right, who was just full of energy and was just one of those really annoying people, all right. Oh, let's do this, let's do that. Come on, guys, let's go play sports. Do you see the size of me when I was a kid? I was fat as fuck, all right. I didn't want to go and play sports, all right. I want to eat ice cream in the sun and go in the pool. I don't want to go and do activities, all right. If I want to do activities, that should be down to me, all right. Not some drill sergeant that makes things fun, all right. So that's the first thing, kids club. Didn't enjoy it. I think my sister went a couple of times. She was cool with it. She made friends, however. Not me. All right. I didn't care. And even if I didn't make friends, I didn't care. All right.
Yeah.
So there was that. So also then there was the whole, like I said, you know, as a young kid, you just want to just play around all day. You want to play in the pool, maybe go to the beach, build sand castles or whatever. As I mentioned before, I hate sand, so the beach wasn't my favourite. I used to like the pool. But then your parents always want to drag you on some sort of excursion. Like, because they didn't want to do that all day. Maybe they wanted to go out and see something different other than the pool and the beach. So you'd be dragged along to that. And I remember you'd have to get up early because the coach would come at like 6, 7 o'clock. You'd just make it for breakfast. You'd eat something, but you're still a bit tired. So then you'd go to this excursion. You'd be on an air-conditioned coach most of the time. But then you'd have to stop and get out all the time. You have to go around visiting all these places. And I just thought to myself, I hated that part. The minute they said excursion, I knew that was like one day my holiday I wasn't going to like. And it was usually like 1 or 2 days we would do it. And sometimes like we rented cars as well. Like my dad rented a car. Or we actually, one time was quite good. We met a family out there from like Surrey or something. And we got talking and we all rented the car together. And they had kids too. So that was more fun. So all the kids could be miserable together. None of us enjoyed it.
So excursions were a no-go then for you?
Well, like now, yeah, I'd do it. But as a kid, you didn't want to do that. You didn't want to know. The plane ride over was always quite cool. Because that was back in the day where the air hostess would take you to go and see the pilot. Now you can't do that with the whole security thing and stuff. So that was quite cool. Like, all you'd have to do was ask, and they'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, we'll take you up. And you could just go and hang out in the cockpit for a little bit. They show what all the controls are and stuff. So that was quite cool. You got like a kids package like on the plane, which was like colouring books and shit like that. So yeah, so it wasn't all bad. There was just a few elements that I didn't enjoy. You know.
So you're happy to, just to clarify, you're happy to colour on the plane, but you don't want to do any colouring in when you actually get to the kids.
No, but that's the thing. I didn't even do that. I gave that to my sister to do. I was playing my Game Boy.
Okay.
That's what I was interested in.
I get the impression, Jake, that you tend to find pleasure in your own company.
Much so. I am a hermit of sorts.
So the lockdown's been perfect for you then?
No, because I've had to work all the way through it. So no, that's not even worked out in my favour.
Oh well, you know, it seems like I'm starting to realise a lot more about you as an adult when you talk about you as a child. I'm starting to understand exactly where you're coming from.
Even at 8 years old, I was a miserable 33-year-old.
But it's funny though, right? Because even though there's a lot of good memories of, particularly now when you look back on childhood and on those holidays that you take with your family, you know, there gets to a certain point, doesn't there, where things start to change. So particularly for me, I remember being getting towards my late teens, probably they're around a sort of that age of 15, 16, 17, where going on holiday with my family was no longer as much fun. You start to take an interest in summer romances, for example, and relationships, and you know that's all good and well, and you know you hope that maybe you might meet someone on holiday. But the problem is when you go to a small village where everybody knows each other and you're related to most of the people there,
it's a precarious time. You don't know what
basically everyone's your cousin, so you really are limited in what you can say and do. So all of a sudden
it becomes a full background check of people before you even think about talking to them.
Exactly. And the problem is you track it far enough and you all end up coming from the same two grandparents or something like that. You start to think, okay, what is beyond this? You know, can you actually divulge away from spending too much time with your parents, and how do you kind of spread your wings? And I suppose that kicks more into play as you get that little bit older into your late teens, where you start to get a bit more freedom.
Well, for me, I was still going away with my parents till I was probably about like 18-ish, 19. And I think it got to the point for me where they're still always offer. They say, oh, you want to come with us? But like, even if I wasn't going to go away myself, I'd be like, no, I'd rather take the free house for 2 weeks. Because obviously my sister, she would go too, because she was like only like 13, 14 at the time, whatever. So she used to go. I'd be like, no. Just having the free house for 2 weeks was a holiday for me. All right. I had my friends around, all sorts of stuff would happen. We'd go out, whatever. Like every night it'd be like cool. Everyone would be hanging out and stuff. So yeah, so probably at that age of about 18, 19 is where I stopped and started realizing that, well, yeah, maybe going away with your parents ain't as cool as it is. Well, as cool as you think it is. And that is when you sort of transition to, let's say, well, the famous lads' holidays, right?
Yeah, lads, and for those ladies that are listening, ladies' holidays, and yeah, basically the idea of going away with your mates, isn't it? You know, is
Yes.
you start to develop into doing that, and the priority of going to the pool or the beach and or maybe going on those excursions, it totally changes, I think, when you get to that sort of age, and all of a sudden it's more about the nights that you have on holiday rather than the
Yes.
days that you have on
Yes.
holiday. Okay,
Yes.
much more about the party atmosphere. And yeah, I remember those first few holidays that I took away with my friends, and you get very much into a routine. You drag yourself up. It's sometime late morning.
Yep.
You somehow maybe force yourself to eat something
Yep.
just to kind of give you a bit of energy. You spend
Mhm.
all day laying there by beach or by
Or the
pool,
pool. Yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Just kind of trying to get yourself in a fit enough shape to be able to go clubbing all night, basically, or go partying
Basically.
all night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, we know we're talking about classic places. You know, Ibiza, the kind of places we went to, Magaluf,
Yeah.
coming on to
Malia.
Kos, Malia, all those places, those
Those
holiday
places.
destinations.
For me, that didn't really start until, well, like from 18 to about 21-ish. Like most people like I was friends with, they were already at uni. So like there wasn't a lot of spare cash to go on holiday and stuff. So that didn't really happen. When we graduated, that's when we sort of started going away together. We went to a few places. But I think my first actual 1830s holiday, I was 26, 27. So I was at like almost the end of that bracket of you being allowed to go there, you know. Prior to that, well, the thing is, prior to that, I was in a relationship for like 3 or 4 years from the ages of like 22, 23 to 26 ish. Yeah. So like then a lad's holiday, like you probably wouldn't go if you was in a relationship. It just, I don't know, it just didn't make sense. Um, but we'll come on to that a bit later. But yeah, I think the first boys' holiday was Tenerife, and that was a bit of a disaster in my eyes. It was a good time, but at the same time, it could have been better. I don't know, maybe we hadn't planned it so well. Maybe we didn't look at where we were going exactly. So I remember getting there, and we were like, we sort of realised that although there were other young people there, we were the oldest out of those young people, and not by a little bit. So like we were like early 20s, 21, 22, maybe 23 at a push, and all the other young people are like 15, 16, 17, maybe 18 at a slight push. And we were like, fuck, where have
Yeah,
we come? We've come to a family holiday.
I wouldn't say it was poorly planned. I would say it was
We
maybe
didn't
just
look
a
at it.
missap.
We
Well,
didn't look at
basically,
where we were. We
we
did not
didn't.
plan it geographically.
No, that was the issue. So we ended up. So this is a holiday we went on together, just to specify to the listener.
Well, there's two of
Not
us.
just me and Jake. We had a
There was a
couple
third
of.
member of the group.
There was a third member of our friends there as well, and we ended up staying in a what was ended a family resort basically, which was miles away from where all the nightlife and stuff was. And when I
Like a
mean
half
miles, I
hour
mean
drive.
something like that. It was a long old drive, and yeah, I suppose that's the error sometimes you have when you plan a holiday like that and you're doing it maybe for the first or second time and you don't really check all the details and maybe you're looking at price more than anything else. You get caught a bit short, which I think we were.
Yeah, it was all a bit weird. I won't be revisiting that again. Luckily, all right, about 2, 3 years ago, I went on a stag do in Tenerife, and I got what I wanted in the sense of a bit of nightlife because we were staying literally a 5 minute walk from the main strip. And all I've got to say about that is, had we have gone there at 22, 23, we would have loved it because that's what the age of the others were when they were there.
Well, you live and learn, don't you?
Yeah,
That's
you
the
do.
thing.
You do.
At least that served as a bit of a warning to us at
Yeah,
that age that,
yeah.
when you are planning your holiday, actually make sure you're planning the right place, do a bit of research about the location you're going to, where the nightlife is, that you're picking the right time of year, that it's in season for the nightlife if you're going for that particular reason. So sometimes you learn the hard way, which is what we did when it came to going to Tenerife, that's for sure.
Definitely so. I mean, in between, I mean, the next lad's holiday was not for a good 4 or 5 years after. As I said, I was in a relationship like a year later after that. So, going on a lad's holiday probably wasn't for me. But you went on another one after that, didn't
Yeah,
you?
we went on a few. One that really sticks out to me was going to Magaluf. So Really good fun again. I mean, we did all the classic stuff that people do, in terms of going to arranged parties and all the different nightclubs. And the atmosphere was just brilliant. It was buzzing. And again, I know we've spoken about clubbing and house parties and stuff previously, but anyone who understands what it means to maybe have experienced that university type atmosphere, which is everybody being so relaxed, everyone drinking together, it was like that in Magaluf. Basically, it was all young people, the majority of which were British, but there were other nationalities too. And literally, you just be walking down the street and you get chatting to people. You'd be in your group of people, you get chatting to another group, and there'd be no inhibition in that sense of being afraid to just spark up conversations with people. There was, of course, a lot of drinking involved. There was you could get drunk for very little,
Yeah,
because that's the other thing as well. If you find the little supermarkets or little corner shops nearby selling the booze dirt cheap, yeah, I
yeah,
particularly think of like the sangria and stuff like that you'd get pretty cheap. And of course, on those nights out, all those people outside the front trying to drag you in to get your free shots, and you'd have your
correct.
you'd have your free shot of whatever it would be, probably like apple sours or something, and then you'd realize there's no one else in that club, and you'd move on, and you go up and down the street
Yeah.
and do the same thing.
See, that's funny you mentioned the drinks. As I pre-mentioned before, that stag do I went to Tenerife, we had the same thing where people would be dragging you in, and there was quite a few of us. There was like 12. There was 12 of us, 12, 13 of us, and the guy said, "Look, for like €10 each, we'll bring you like 2 trays of shots, 2 bottles of, I think it was like champagne or prosecco or something, and 2 bottles of vodka." And we were like, "Wow, okay, let's do that." And what they do is they give you like a little ticket. So what we were doing, we were we were taking the ticket, we were giving it to the staff to say that we paid for the drinks, whatever. The staff were leaving it on the side, so we were taking it back, and then when the drinks finished, we'd use it again.
Ah,
And because sometimes the shifts would change at the bar, like different staff members would work, they wouldn't know any different. And because you got so
wow.
many people there, yeah, it would just be double the amount. I mean, I think on one of those nights, I saw. Did you ever used to watch EastEnders? Do you remember the character called Fat Boy?
Yes, I do remember the
I saw
character.
him in Tenerife once, and yeah, I was like, I was kind of drunk at the time. I wasn't sure if I was seeing the right thing. I was like, is that him? So I went up to him. I was like, oh yeah, man, how you doing? Like, real big fan, real big fan. Like, shook his hand and that, and he was a mess. So much so that he almost puked on my foot. He was a mess. All right, I literally stepped back and then it all just came out.
Oh wow.
And that was happening at like
Illustrious.
30 years old. All right, that's the sort of fun I should be having at 22, 23. But no, that's happening at 30 for me.
But people do that. I think people, particularly maybe people who are in a long-term relationship, they do maybe miss out on some of those holidays, and then eventually, if that relationship doesn't go right, I think that sometimes they go a bit feral when they go on holidays, like they make up for lost time.
I think at that point I'd been single for like 4 years already, so I was I
Really
was
make
just
up for
enjoying
lost time
life.
then.
I was.
Thinking about some of the holidays I've been on, there's classic things that always tends to happen. One of which has just come to mind. You get there, a group of lads, and you find out that like the four of you are sharing a room, and
Yeah,
there's literally no space. Like there's four beds crammed into the smallest room,
you're
and
pretty much
literally
all sharing one big bed.
yeah, basically, you're all lying next to each other. It's utter chaos, and you're just trying to save as much money as possible because you
Yeah,
want to spend as much money on the
of
drinking and
course.
socializing. So you end up in the grottiest, dirtiest little places. I don't know how they pass for hotels,
Yeah,
but you just make do with it, don't you? Because
yeah,
you know you're going to have a good time. So yeah, that's one thing that really springs to mind.
yeah.
Uh,
Last holiday we went on, the last lads' holiday back to Cos. It was a good time. Over to Cos, it was a good time. Joe even met his future wife there.
Well, she's not my wife yet, but
Future wife, future
she's
wife.
she's going to be my future wife, hopefully. Yeah. So it's funny enough, we one of the big reasons I think why people often go on these holidays is deep down. I think there's a rooted feeling that perhaps they might meet someone, whether that's going to be something which they consider to be long term, or they might meet somebody just for a bit of what you deem as fun or a bit of romance in the summer. That's something that's a big driver for a lot of people when they go on holiday, particularly with their friends. And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that probably why people love a program like Love Island so much, because it
It's
kind
just
of
one big holiday romance.
it's a big holiday romance basically, and I can see why a whole generation loves that program for that reason, because you're watching something that you in a way maybe wish you could take part in terms of finding that bit of love in the sun. And when I say love, I mean the emotion as opposed to the action. But some people, they're maybe just looking for the action.
All action.
All action.
Heroes. All action heroes.
But I never anticipated meeting somebody on holiday, never at all, in the sense of, you know, finding somebody that I would end up being in a relationship with. And I was really lucky, and actually, you know, to have met, you know, my fiance, she's currently my fiance, on a holiday. I think, well, what's the chances of that, basically, of meeting somebody who you absolutely click with to the point that, you know, you choose to want to spend the rest of your life with that person, in a far away land, maybe not too far, it was only Cos, but far away enough.
Surrounded by alcohol and just,
yeah, you know,
just downright fuckery.
And there's a lot of problems with that holiday in the sense of, you know, we went right at the end of the season. It was September time. There was not many people there. I mean, but I got lucky, you know, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there who done the same. They've ended up meeting somebody on holiday. They end up getting in a relationship. Sometimes their relationships stick. Sometimes they don't. But I'm sure I'm not the first. And it's a wonderful thing to have happened to me, to have met somebody on a holiday like that. That's for sure.
Good. See, that ties into our next part. See, you've done the whole lads' holiday thing, girls' holiday, lads' holiday. All right, you've got out with your friends, you've had a great time. But what about when it goes into couples' holidays, going away with your partner for the first time? That's always a very testing time for the relationship. They usually say if you can make it for a holiday with your partner and like everything goes good, then you guys are good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'd say with that as well is that your perception, I think, of a holiday starts to change depending on the person you've ended up with. Now, for me, you know, my idea of a perfect holiday before meeting my partner was very much that chilling by the pool, and you'd have a few drinks and you'd enjoy basically just the sunshine and the everything that comes with it. But for my partner, you know, she's very much in terms of exploring, going on holidays, you know, maybe city breaks or going to places where you can actually go and learn something about the culture or the lifestyle of that particular place. And that has really helped me to broaden my experiences of going on holiday. I don't know if you've experienced anything similar to that.
Yeah, I've been, like, obviously me and my partner been together, or girlfriend. We've been together, was it 2 years, 2 years and a half almost, and we've been away a few times together. And yeah, we've not even ever had like a tiff or anything being away. But we do differ on what we like to do. She's a very, very keen sun worshipper. She loves laying in the sun, getting a tan. She gets a great colour when she does tan. But I don't. I'm very pasty. I'm very white. So where she likes to stay in the sun and do her thing, or whatever, I'm sort of looking for things to do, and I don't like disturbing her time. I mean, we go on excursions and stuff, and we see different things, or whatever. But generally, she's about laying in the sun, getting a nice tan, and I'm about getting out of the sun as much as possible, finding something to do. So that's where, like, I think we differ between me and her on holidays and stuff. But it is different. It's a whole lot. Going away with your other half is just a lot more of a chilled experience in my eyes. Even if you are sort of sightseeing and stuff, you're sort of just focusing on that. Like, you might go sightseeing during the day, and because you've done so much during the day, you just chill at night. You won't go out at night and stuff like that. And that is nice as well. If you spend the whole day sort of like walking around, seeing different things, can you really be asked to be going around bars and that, getting off your face, like, after a full day of just being in that heat and taking it all in and stuff? And I like that now. I think I'm at that stage where I do like that.
It's once again part of that evolution, isn't it, into becoming the people you are. And holidays, I think, for couples, particularly if you're quite early on in your relationship, it can be a really good thing, because you're not just learning about the place you're going or experiencing that, but you're learning about each other, right, as well. And you're learning about what it means to spend a prolonged period of time with those people. And particularly, I think, for people who are very used to maybe seeing their partner for a day or two at a time, and then there's a bit of a gap in between. All of a sudden, if you're spending a week or two every single day with that person, you do start to learn an awful lot about them, and they learn about you.
Of course.
I mean, I think, you know, expect there to be, you may never have rowed before, expect there to be some kind of tiff
friction
that takes place. Yeah, friction. You know, and that could be the same even with friends, and maybe that you don't spend a lot of time with, and you sort of thrust together for a prolonged period of time, and you start to grate on each other. But you know, and you've argued, and I remember going on holiday with my partner. You know, we end up having little tiffs, and, you know, 2 minutes later everything's made up, and you start to wonder. I don't even remember what they're about. You know, even know why
stuff.
Yeah, usually you're more wound up at yourself because
Yeah.
you're doing something or another, and you end up taking it out on the person you're with, and so sometimes just my advice to couples would be be patient with each other, particularly if you've never spent a lot of time with each other. It's all part of the learning process, and enjoy the experience when you're together for that longer period of time. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I heard stories once of a couple going away and it didn't go too well, and literally they came home within a week, 2 weeks, they'd split up. Um, so so in a way that works two ways. Like obviously it's sad that that had to happen, but maybe these two people were just not right for each other at all, So and then it took a holiday to to show that. So my advice would be the first time you go away together, don't go anywhere too expensive. All right. So you're
yeah.
testing the waters, Stay in Europe if you can. All right. Nice little half board package or self catering, whatever. All right. Don't smash it. All right. Don't say, oh, let's go on a 2 week all inclusive holiday to the tropics somewhere in the Caribbean. Because if it's the first time, it's not worth it. All right.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that one, Jake. I mean, the financial side of it can be messy if you decide halfway through that you can't stand the person you're with anymore.
Exactly.
So yeah, but it's good to branch out, and that's the thing that I've definitely learned by being with my other half. I've been to places that I probably would never really have considered going. For example, I went to Israel not so long ago and
Yep.
spent a couple of weeks there touring around the country, and it was absolutely brilliant, and staying in places that I never thought that I would stay. So to give you some context behind that, I mean, my other half, she's been traveling, she's done that experience around the world trip, 9 months, the whole shebang. And when you do a trip like that, quite often you're staying in hostels, you're staying in places that are a bit cheaper because, of course, you're trying to make your money spread. So going to Israel, and I thought to myself, well, I don't want to stay in a hostel, I want to stay in a hotel. And then I was able to open my eyes by going to Israel because we did a lot of traveling while we were there, of staying in hostels, and they were basically like hotels. We had our own room, we had our own bathroom, there was nothing shared. So sometimes I think just be open to the idea of staying in different places. I say that one thing I will hold against my partner is one time we stayed in a luxury cabin when
Right.
we went to visit some friends. Actually, in the UK, it was a staycation to down sort of the Devon Cornwall way, and this luxury cabin was a garden shed. It was
Wow.
literally a freezing cold garden shed. So I would say, yeah, trust your partner sometimes when it comes to accommodation, but there's no harm in just double checking where you're staying before you go.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean,
Uh,
I've stayed in a hostel before. I went on a school trip when I was a lot younger, about 16, 17. We went to Milan and we stayed in a hostel there. And our hostel sounds nothing as nice as yours does. Ours was a shared room, and luckily there was enough of us that everyone we knew was in the same room. All right, it was lights out at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So like I was going to the toilet, I was standing there having a wee at the urinal, and all of a sudden the lights go out. So I'm peeing in the dark. To make it even worse, we're all in bed because it's about 11 o'clock. Some random guy walks into our room. We all get up. He takes a look around, realizes it's his wrong room, and just walks out again because there's no locks on the door.
all right, this sounds like a cross between a hotel and a prison. I'll
It
be honest
was
with you, Jake.
it lent more towards prison, I would say.
Okay.
The difference was you were allowed out.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't drop the soap
so
in the shower jar. Yeah.
well, I've seen like things on the TV about prisons and that, and what the showers look like. The showers in the hostel weren't far off. So I don't know if it maybe was a prison once. I'm not sure. But it was odd. I won't be planning on doing that again. But what you said about being with someone and then you end up going places maybe you wouldn't have done. November just gone. We were okay. It's not so as culturally great as Israel, but we went to Disneyland Paris, and I would never probably have ever gone to Disneyland Paris because I've got issues with Disney, but I'll cover that on a different podcast. Yeah, it's just never been somewhere that I would go. I'm not a massive, roller coaster fan or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we went. It was her mum's birthday, and they both loved Disney. And she was like, "Let's go." I was like, "Yeah, cool." And it was an experience that I probably wouldn't have had I not been with her because it just would have been somewhere I would have gone anyway.
Mm.
But yeah, I had a really good time. It is crazily overpriced. everything costs so much money there. Yeah, but it was good. So yeah, I think you're right when you say that being with someone or going on couples holidays will sometimes take you to places that you probably wouldn't have gone otherwise.
For somebody like me who I'm very much in the sense I got my comfort zone, and that was kind of sticking to what I know. And fortunately, my other half has helped me to come out of that comfort zone. And I couldn't quite go far enough to go with her on her around the world traveling trip, but I did go and meet her in Australia, which was incredible. I absolutely loved it there. Longest flight I've ever taken, probably ever likely to take. But it was an amazing place. We travelled around, we saw a lot of the east coast of Australia, and you really buy into the culture that's there, into the lifestyle. Much more laid back, lots of really nice, friendly people. Food was amazing, and again, it's just one of those things I probably wouldn't have done if it wasn't for her doing her travelling trip and me wanting to see her at some point while she was away. So again, just if you can branch out of your comfort zone, do it. And it's the same when we went to Israel. There's a lot in the media about Israel, and of course, at the moment, things are politically tense there again. But we're not going to go into that, other than the fact that it was an amazing country, beautiful place. I mean, in terms of the nature, but not only that, the history is so full and rich with history. And if you are interested in going somewhere where you might, I don't know, I suppose, gain a bit of understanding about what it means to be the center of political or religion, of everything else that takes place in that kind of environment, then Israel is definitely somewhere I'd recommend. And there's lots of reputable companies, tour companies. So just people, do your research. You're going away, you want to explore something different, do your research. And there's lots of places that you can rely on in terms of tour guides and everything else in order for you to experience something unique. And I'm just lucky that I met somebody who, challenged me enough to do those things. Otherwise, I probably would have never have done it, to be honest.
That's good. That's good. And it sort of opened your mind up, and they say travel broadens the mind and whatnot. But there's another point I'd like to cover, and I think in a way, it's like one of my sort of favourite parts of the holiday, and that's the airport. The airport before you're going to go. Because to me personally, I don't really get excited until I'm at the airport. There's just this feeling of being at the airport. Everyone's acting different at the airport. Like, for example, you go to duty free, you'll buy whatever because you're going on holiday. You're a bit flush. You're going to spend some money. Like, duty free isn't what it used to be anymore. It's not as cheap as it used to be, but you're still buying stuff there, like perfumes, whatever, or sunglasses. You might have forgotten some headphones, so you'll pay 20 quid for a pair of headphones where it might only cost you £10 at Argos, but you'll pay it. You don't care.
About the money as well, like foreign currency is just like monopoly money. You just the value of it is just you don't care about spending it. But I absolutely know what you mean, and it's a great buzz being at the airport.
Yeah. Last year we went away for my sister's wedding, and we were lucky enough to try one of the airport lounges. Now it was about we got in free because some of the guys with us had American Express cards, so they can get like one guest in free or whatever. But usually I think it's like 40-50 quid to get in. But for that money, you get like a hot breakfast if you want it, anything you want, like constant food off like the breakfast buffet, and free drinks for like 2 hours, like alcohol as well. So if you're spending 40 quid, that's quite a good value, because if you're going to go and get a breakfast somewhere, say for two of you, and you're going to get alcohol drinks with it, which a lot of people do because they're going on holiday, they want like a little pre-flight drink or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you could easily spend 40 quid between two of you for breakfast, Yeah, I would say there, if I could do it again, I'd do it again. Like, if you're paying, like, I don't know, £4 or £5 a pint or whatever, or £4 or £5 a drink, if you're getting alcoholic drinks, it's worth doing, and you're getting a meal included.
So you got to look for those good deals then, basically. You do a bit of looking into...
Yeah, always do it. I mean, there's always the drawback sometimes is if if it's a busy time of year, the lounge can be busy, so the service isn't as great. But but that to me is a whole part of the airport experience. And I think, I'd like to, well, I don't know, I think we could be the only country of people that drink before we go on holiday at like 7 a.m. I think it could only be the UK.
Well, that's because we're a bunch of degenerate drinkers, Jake. That's why.
Because I've been to like early morning sort of airport runs and that in other countries, and like when I'm looking around, it is only the UK tourists who are having a drink at like 7 a.m. Everyone else is like, no, I just have coffee. Like, what's wrong with you guys? What is your problem?
Yeah, that's part of our culture, though, isn't it? You look at the places that we go to when Brits go away abroad on holiday, and that's why a lot of the places that we're advertising you go to, you end up going there and you end up meeting more Brits than you do locals, right? And they're all there just indulging in the same way as everybody else, with the drinks and the food and everything else that comes with being abroad. So yeah.
Also, staying on that subject of airports, I always have trouble at customs. I've always done something wrong, or like I've not taken something out of my bag, so it delays everyone else, and everyone's behind you getting really frustrated because they've got to search your bag, because you might have left something like like a bit of liquid in there or something. You should have put it in the little sacks they give you, but you didn't because you forgot. And that's I always find customs very tense. To be honest.
I know what you mean. It's pure anxiety. I mean, I don't know why, but I always get really anxious when I walk through the kind of metal detector. I'm not carrying anything, but I'm always like, or what if I've accidentally, or what if this, or what if that, they're gonna like pull out the sniffer dogs and start like patting me down and take me to some room in the back of the airport where they asked me to get naked and put the plastic glove on. So I do get a bit nervous. I don't know why, but yeah, I start to think all the worst things possible when I go through that metal detector machine.
It's true. It happened to me at Luton. I went through the metal detector 3 or 4 times, and it kept going off. And the guys could, they're like, well, I don't understand. They get, you get the handheld detector. They just like go up and down, nothing. They still can't find anything. So they put me to one side. They said, look, do you mind just putting your leg up or like your foot up onto this little stool? I went, okay. So I've got my foot up on a stool, and then the security guy's gone, if it's okay with you, I'm going to check your waistband. I went, what's that? He goes, the bit around the top of your trousers. So he's put his gloves on, and he's put his finger round my waist. I was like, I don't know what you're looking for. I said, but I've got nothing on me. In the end, I think he just got fed up and just let me
go. Are you sure you're not some sort of bionic man, Jake?
If I am, no one knew about it. Neither did I. Airports are the worst of times and the best of times.
Definitely. But something I've experienced, which doesn't require an airport, is a cruise ship. So I don't know if you've ever experienced a cruise, Jake. That's something that I experienced. Yeah.
Once, and I hated it. I never want to go on another cruise again. I can't stand it.
Really, I absolutely loved it. I loved going on a cruise.
Maybe like my cruise was only like 2 or 3 days, and it was to around parts of Europe. It was like a weekend cruise. I didn't enjoy it. Maybe a further one somewhere else is probably a bit better, but I just didn't really enjoy it, to be honest.
Well, I went on a Norwegian cruise for my 30th birthday. My other half, very fortunately, she treated me to it. It was absolutely brilliant. And there's so many things I liked about the cruise. The food is incredible. So basically, it's food on tap. It's just all inclusive. Eat what you like, when you like. And there's just copious amounts of everything. One of the days they had a chocolate-themed afternoon tea, which was just so indulgent. I mean, food galore. I wasn't sick, but I definitely finished that cruise a few pounds heavier than when I started. You start off and the motion is a bit weird. It takes a little while for your body to get used to the fact that you're swaying from side to side on a big ship. But there were swimming pools, there were nightclubs on the ship, there were bars, so many bars. And even being able to get off and do the small excursions. I mean, it was Norway, so we got to see the fjords, and it was just a really good experience. Yeah. The kind of strange thing about it was, at the age of me being 30, and my partner a couple of years younger than me, we were the youngest people on that cruise ship. So we were surrounded by lots of much older people, shall we say, lots of people who are retired. So perhaps that says more about the fact that I've come to a point in my life where, I'm no longer requiring the company of younger people, and probably drifting closer towards being one of those older people.
It's true. 20-somethings are very annoying sometimes. I think it's jealousy. I think I'm just jealous that they got the youth. I haven't got it anymore. That's what it comes down to.
I'm jealous of the retired people. I wish I was. I'd be able to pack up work and just go on cruises all the time. So. Yeah.
Your cruise sounded quality, by the way. Mine was not that at all. Mine was like, so it was like fake all-inclusive, I call it. So like the food was free and certain drinks were free. But if you wanted other drinks, you'd have to upgrade your package on the cruise. It's like, well, okay, that's a bit weird. And then it was so understaffed as well. I waited half an hour for a drink. It was just, I just didn't enjoy it. It was just, that's left a bad taste in my mouth, let's put it that way. I don't plan on going back. Some guy went on a cruise as well around the same time as I did, and he went. Well, it sounded better his cruise, but he didn't enjoy it either. So maybe I just need to be on land. That's what it is. Maybe being on water isn't for me.
I would say to people, if you get the opportunity, experience it at least once, even if it is a short cruise. It might be just for a day or two as part of another holiday that you take, but it can be really good fun if you're into that sort of thing. And the good thing about it is as soon as you get on the cruise ship, your holiday starts, and that's one thing that I really liked. that compared to going on a flight, and I don't mind flying, I quite enjoy it, but you are waiting to get to your destination. Basically, your mode of travel on a cruise is your holiday. So as soon as you get on that ship, your holiday starts. You can start to drink, you can start to eat, you can go to the cinema that's on board. You've got all the entertainment that's there, and of course the beautiful views that you get whilst you're cruising. So I would certainly recommend it. I know it's not for everybody, but it was definitely something that I enjoyed.
Good, good. So we're nearing the end of the podcast. A few quick fire questions. Best holiday and worst holiday. Go.
Best holiday would be, I'm going to go with Israel, definitely.
Okay.
Just because of the culture and stuff that we learned while we were there, and just amazing. The people were amazing, and food, everything was good about that. And of course, the company, I'll say that as well.
I was going to say, don't forget that one.
yeah. My half, I'm sure she'll be listening. So yeah, of course she was there, which helps. Worst holiday, that's tough. Because even the ones that weren't great in terms of like when we went to Tenerife, they were still really funny, and there's still lots of really positive memories.
Yeah.
So I have to think about that. What about you? What best and worst?
Best holiday. See, I've got a few that sort of go up there. So I'd say Vegas was definitely a great one for me. Really enjoyed that. My sister's wedding, I really enjoyed that because there was so many of us there. There was like 30 of us. And everyone got on. Like, it was great. Everyone just got on, and like it was just a good time. So that was really good. Mm-hmm. And what else? Do you know what? I'm actually going to put it out there. Although I bitched and moaned about before I went, all right, I did really enjoy Disneyland Paris. Although I'm not a Disney fan, it's easy to see how like the little kids get proper sort of caught up in it, and the sheer scale. I've not been to Florida or anywhere like that, but even the sheer scale of it all in Paris, the way they put it all together, and it's just phenomenal the way it's all done. So I really enjoyed that. Worst holiday, I would say it was a family holiday to Lanzarote when I was about 10 or 11, 9 or 10, I think I was. It was just a disaster from start to finish. So we got there. The hotel we were at wasn't the hotel that we were sort of told it was going to be. And we thought we just had like hotel rooms. We ended up getting some sort of like massive, was like an apartment hotel. And that's okay because there was a lot of space, but it was really dirty. There's like cats that were weeing everywhere. It really stunk. I mean, my mum had to go out and buy a bottle of bleach in Lanzarote just to clean the front of the front steps of where we were because it was so disgusting. I swear, me and my sister slept on a mattress on the floor as well. To make it worse, one night we were because they didn't have a phone in the apart hotel room, so we'd have to go and use a phone box, which was just like a little bit, like 5-10 minute walk from the hotel. And we would call every a couple of nights. We'd call home just to make sure everything was all right. And one night we got robbed actually at the phone box.
Oh God!
Some guys run past. He's like the Flash. He's run past. He's just snatched my mum's bag. My dad's run after him, and it's like seeing out the film. My dad's just started running after him, and like these two cars have pulled out, and these guys jumped over both the cars. He's like slid over the bonnets and just sort of had it away. So that's quite traumatic as like 8 or 9-year-old kids have to witness that. And then we got taken into like a shop that was just over the road. I think it was like a jewellery shop. And we had to wait there for about 10 minutes until the police came down and took a statement and stuff. And it turns out the guy who they think did it had only just been released from prison as well.
Jeez.
So that was a pretty bad holiday.
Okay, so compared to that, I don't have a bad holiday. All my holidays were absolutely brilliant. So I can't compare to that. But that sounds pretty traumatic, absolutely, for the whole family.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So that's my worst. That's my best and my worst, I think.
Okay, I've got a question for you. So one place you've never been that you'd absolutely love to go?
I keep thinking about Canada.
Why?
Looks really nice. It's just very nice. I'm not sure when I'd go. I think I'd go in the winter because I like the cold. I like the snow. I think that looks very picturesque. So yeah, definitely Canada. I would love to go there. Where else would I like to go? Japan. And I don't know why I want to go there, but there's something about Japan that says, I know people have been and they say, Jake, you have to go. You have to go and see it. Even I don't just want to go for the big cities and stuff. I want to go for like the rural stuff as well because that looks really nice and inviting. So yeah, definitely. What about you?
So I'd quite like to go to South America and
Okay.
probably do a little bit of touring around, a bit of Argentina, a bit of Brazil. because for me that's somewhere that just seems to be so far away from the type of culture and life that we live in. So for me, I'm really intrigued about everything about that type of South American culture, the food, the drink, the sports. I'd like
Yeah,
to go and
yeah.
experience it, and of course the history as well. I mean, you've got places there which date back for hundreds, thousands of years. You know, sites to be seen, and that really, really intrigues me. So for me, you know, further afield would definitely be there. But a little bit closer to home, one other place is Germany. You know, somewhere I've never been. People
Oh,
tell
have you
me
not?
again, it's an incredible place. So much to see and do while you're there,
Yeah,
and that really intrigues me. I might try and combine that with a bit of maybe Christmas market holidaying. So maybe go a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
towards
That'd
the
be
end of
good.
the year and yeah,
Yeah.
hit up a bit of the culture whilst doing my Christmas shopping
I've
because I
been
do love a
to.
Christmas market.
I do love a Christmas market as well. But I've been to Berlin a few times, and that was quite good.
Mm,
The only way I could describe Berlin was kind of similar to London, but not as busy.
okay.
So imagine London just not as hectic. Still hectic, but just not as much. But
Mm.
yeah, no, definitely Germany. Christmas. Oh, actually, speaking of Christmas markets, the place to go now, the Christmas market to go to is actually Poland. That is the next.
Okay.
That's so I was looking to go there at the end of this year, but I don't know what the travel situation is going to be. So, but yeah, definitely.
There's one part of holidays we haven't touched on yet, but we could probably do it in a separate pod, and that is the kind of holidays that you go on. Say you go abroad, like you did for your sister's wedding, and the stag do's. Now maybe that comes as part of a wedding podcast. Who knows? When we
Could
talk
do,
about
yeah.
everything that everything that goes around it.
Around the
Uh,
wedding.
Definitely, because I've had some brilliant occasions on stag do's abroad, and also on going to weddings in other countries. So perhaps we can touch on that in a different time as we run out of time on this one.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
there's lots more to talk about, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. It is the podcast about everything, guys. So we can talk about everything. It doesn't. It could be anything. It could be astronomy to astrology. I don't know. It could be anything you want. Tomato, tomato, whatever. North, south, east, west, whatever. It covers everything.
Definitely, and as we've said before, you know, if you've got a suggestion, something you'd like us to hear us talk about or get our views on, please, you know, put the messages on our YouTube post or indeed on
Instagram.
our comments on Instagram. But you've got our social media. Please like, subscribe our work if you do, and share it with people that you care about. They might enjoy it too. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, we'll keep delivering stuff that hopefully you want to hear about.
yeah. And if by any chance you don't have our social media, just search the podcast about everything, and we should come up. You may have to look a little bit for us as we're, quite new, so we're probably not on top of the list. But yeah, we'll be there. All right. And if not, just be patient because you'll find us. So, guys, that was it for the podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope we've given you some insight. So, thanks for listening again. Remember, 6 people, 2 meters apart. So, enjoy it. So, yeah, it's goodbye from me.
And it's adios, ciao, au revoir, and goodbye from me.
See, multilingual. What a guy. See you later, guys.